Premier League predictions for the upcoming season. Today, I'm going to go over them relatively quickly. Beginning with relegation, I got 3 up, 3 down. Got Sunderland 20th, Burnley 19th, Leeds 18th. So Sunderland, team I'm least confident with this year. Barely got over their barely got a positive goal difference last year. Lost Joe Bellingham, brought in Granit Xhaka, good deal. But I don't see how this team's going to score goals. Their top goal scorer last year scored 12. Nobody else scored over 10. It's going to be harder to score in the Prem. Don't see the creativity in this team. Don't see Granit Xhaka scoring 40-yard screamers every game. Don't see Mark Guiu coming in and breaking out and scoring over 10 goals this year. So yeah, 20th is where I see them finishing. Back down to the championship, they will go. 19th, Burnley. Solid defensively in the championship last season, but Premier League is a different monster. Kyle Walker, good signing. Dubravka, decent signing to replace Trafford. And I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be one of the harder teams to beat out of this bottom group of the table, but I still don't see enough goals coming out of this team to keep them up. I don't think Broja is going to score enough. I don't think he does score enough in his career to show that he's going to be a breakout striker this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but also losing Brownhill is a big loss. Probably their best player, at least going forward last year. 18th Leeds could stay up. I don't think they will. Scored a lot of goals. Did very well in the championship last year. Bamford, Nemecha as the strikers. Good strikers. Decent wingers. Dan James, Jack Harrison, Nonto. Don't see the creativity in this team to score the amount of goals that they did last year. And I don't think they have the quality in this team to stay in the Premier League, in my opinion. I still think the Premier League teams are a little bit stronger than them as a unit. And I think the difference between the Championship and the Premier League has been shown in the last couple of years. But if there is a team to stay up, this would be the team to do it. 17th, Brentford. This is a team to go down. This is the team that's going to go down. Lost Brian Mbuemo. Huge amount of goals gone out of this team. Christian Norgard, their captain, gone. Ben Mee, one of the better defenders, gone. I think Wissa's also going to go. That's basically all their goals. I don't see how this team's going to score goals without them. And Thomas Frank, who has been one of the most underrated managers in this league, one of the better managers in this league over the last couple of years. He's done very well to keep this Brentford team as high as they were, to keep them in the Premier League. But he's lost quality over the years. He's lost Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, David Raya. And now this team has been completely gutted to the point where they could be going down this year. I think they'll just hang on. I think they'll stink out a lot of games. And I think they'll get probably around 10, 11 draws and just a handful of wins to keep them in the league. 16th, Wolves. A team that people think is going to get relegated. Don't really see that happening. Lost Cunha, lost Aït-Nouri, the biggest two losses from this team. Still have a decent squad. Decent. By decent, I mean squad. But bringing in Larson, I think a striker is extremely important in the Premier League for these lower level teams because they can win them games. Not going to talk like Larson's some amazing world-class striker, but I think he's good enough to score 15 in this league, pick up a couple of assists, win them a couple games, and keep them afloat around that 40-point region. 15th place, West Ham. Good squad. Lost Kudus, probably their best player on paper, maybe not. Probably Bowen's probably a little bit better than him as of right now, but he didn't have a great season, so it won't be a huge loss, but I still think this team isn't good enough to push higher in the Premier League. They still have a Declan Rice-shaped hole in their midfield since they've lost him. Have great quality players like Bowen, Paqueta. Hopefully Paqueta can have a good season this year. Maybe we could push him up the table. Decent players, Wan-Bissaka and others, but I don't see Graham Potter getting enough goals out of this team to keep them afloat. I don't trust Füllkrug to go back to his Bundesliga form. I don't trust Callum Wilson to stay fit throughout the season to keep them in the league or keep them in games, but I don't see them getting relegated. I don't think they're that bad. I still think their squad is good enough to be a low, mid-tier Premier League team. 14th, I have Bournemouth. I think the team got completely gutted in defense. Kepa, Neto, Kirkez, Huijsen, the other dude that just went to PSG, whose name I'm forgetting. But they still have an incredible manager in Areola. I think he is very good and could make them finish higher. They still have Semenyo, Kluivert, Evan Nielsen, Tavernier, Tyler Adams when he's fit. Good players in this team. Could finish a little higher, but I think defensively they will be cut open a little bit more. I think they'll be playing decent ball, but I think they might just get shut out of games a little bit more. 13th, I have a team that some people will think push for Europe this year. I don't see it because I see them losing two of their best players. I think Crystal Palace will finish 13th. Eze, I think will go to Tottenham or Arsenal. Hopefully Arsenal. Gehi probably will go to Liverpool. I think it's just a matter of playing time, how much playing time is guaranteed. I think Europe is going to be tough for the team. I know it's the Conference League, but they're still going to want to put people like Wharton, Sarr, Mateta, Munoz out in the squad to play in those games. And I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be a decent team, but I just can't see them finishing that much higher with Europe. I think it will drain the squad a little bit. 11th and 12th, I have two teams that I think are bang average. They could get swapped with each other. Not much between them, in my opinion. I have Brighton in 12th. Because I think their squad is a little worse than Fulham's. They lost João Pedro, lost Estupinian. I think Baliba is going to go to Manchester United. So I think players like Matoma and Mina and Welbeck, or Minte, I should say, and Welbeck and Lewis Dunk will be good enough to make them what they are. They are a good team. They could miraculously finish up higher because they just seem to for whatever reason. But I think this will be a year that they drop off a little bit. They're not as good. I think the manager's all right. He's just young. Thought he picked up a lot last season. He made a lot of boneheaded mistakes, but he also did very good in some games. And then Fulham, I think they're just a little more experienced. They have a lot of experience in this team, but they're not old. They have quality in this team. They have Smith Rowe, Anderson, Bassi, Ramirez, and others in this team that just make them a solid Premier League team. You know, they have good depth to this team. Not a lot of drop-off in quality to their bench, but not a lot of high-caliber players. Do you expect them to be pushing for Europe or any higher in the Premier League, in my opinion? In 10th place, I have Everton. I think a full season of Moyes will benefit them a lot. I think they're one of the strongest teams defensively, and they held on to those players, Pickford, Tarkowski, Branthwaite. And I think the signings of Dewsbury Hall, who's an experienced Premier League midfielder, will do well for them. And I think Jack Grealish is a big signing for them. I think he'll bring creativity to this team. I think he'll bring a little bit of output. I hope if he could score some goals, if he can get some assists. You know, I think we won't see him go back to that form of Villa, but something in and around that level of play. I think it will make a lot of more fans excited. You know, it's the new stadium, going to be rocking about, going to bring a lot of positivity to this team, I think. I think the fans will be behind this team. I think they'll be playing fun ball. I think they'll be getting results, and I think it will be a good season for them, and I think that the positive vibe around this team is very important to them getting this high in the table, in my opinion. And I think that's why they'll finish above a lot of the teams below them, who you could argue have better squads than them. But I just see it. I just have a vision. You know, I just have a little thought that they just might get this high. 9th place, Nottingham Forest. Good squad. Replaced Alanga well. Held on to Gibbs White. Still have Chris Wood, who's one of the better strikers in this league. But I think they overperformed a lot last season, and they still only finished 7th. And then they fell off at the end of the year, which I think they kind of fell back down to earth and what this team really is. Maybe they got tired. And if they did, it's not going to be easier playing Europe this year. Playing midweek, I think it's going to drain the squad. I think they're going to struggle rotating, keeping players fit. But I do like this team. I do think they're good. I do think they could finish higher. But I think 9th place is a safe spot for them in this league. 8th place, I have Newcastle. I think Isak's leaving. I think they'll probably bring in Wissa and one of another striker, maybe Nicholas Jackson, maybe Rasmus Højlund, and the goals will not be in this team like they were with Isak. And it doesn't make or break their team. I'm not saying they're a bad team without Isak. I still think they're a solid squad, but they have to play Champions League this year. I think they struggled last time they did, and they haven't really increased the depth too much. I think the center back signing is good to add to their depth because Botman and Shaw just can't stay fit, even though Botman is really good when he does play. I think they added Jacob Ramsey, who's a good signing, good depth in the midfield. But they've also lost a couple of players. They've been rejected by a lot of players. I think Alanga is still going to be good. I think he's going to be good for them. I think Anthony Gordon is still probably the best left winger in this league. I think he's going to have a lot of weight to carry on offense. And for that, I see them not getting Europe this year. I see them struggling a little bit and adjusting to not having Isak. If they brought in someone like a Sheshko or an Ekitike or an Embuemo or someone like that, I would honestly put them higher. I'd probably put them around fifth or sixth, but this is just where I see them with someone like Wisa starting, who's not. It's not a slight on him. It's not that I think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player, but I don't see them finishing much higher. Seventh, I have Aston Villa, which might be a surprise to some people. I think they're a good team. I really do think they're a good team. I think Unai Emery's a great manager. They still have Ali Watkins. They still have quality players. Morgan Rogers, Martinez in goal, Pau Torres. Even though he does miss a couple of games, I think he's a very good defender, very underrated defender. Konsa, who I also think is a very good defender. Tyrone Mings, Digne, could go on. Onana in midfield. I think they have a good squad. I think they really do have a good squad, and I might push them a little higher, but I do think with the Europa League, I think they're going to be focused a little bit more on that. I think that's Unai Emery's competition. I think he loves just winning that with a team like Villa. I think they're my winners for that competition. Don't know if that's a hot take or not. Don't know if that's too early to predict that, but I think they'll be more focused on that. And we saw how much it trained teams like United and Spurs to get that far in those competitions. Especially because the Premier League is just so tough. It's so high paced. It's so physical. I think it will take a lot of wear and tear on these players. And they don't have the same squad, even though they did very well in the Champions League. I don't think they have the same depth that they did have in the Champions League, and it looks like they're going to lose Bailey. Obviously, they didn't sign Rashford or Asensio, who I thought were two of their better offensive players. So I don't see them finishing much higher. They definitely could, because the two teams I have above them aren't locks in these positions. They're almost more hot takes that I even got them finishing this high. But I think this is where Villa will stay. I think they'll probably pick up the Europa League. Sixth place, I have Spurs. A little high. Some people don't have them finishing this high. From 17th to 6th. What an increase. I thought they've made some good additions. Kudus, Paulinho. Tell isn't the best. We saw that in the game against PSG. But the game against PSG showed that this team, under Thomas Frank, is set up really well and can be very good defensively. It can be very hard to break down. Really looking to that bench is going to be the problem, but I see them bringing in a Savinho or an Eze, or maybe both. And if they do, maybe they could push up higher into 5th. But this is where I have them sitting. I think Frank is a pragmatic manager. I think he's not going to be too focused on the cups. He doesn't really do well in the cups. The furthest he's gone in the Carabao Cup is the quarterfinal. He's went there twice and lost to Newcastle and Chelsea. I think he's won like 2 games in the last 5 years in the FA Cup. So I don't think he's going to be pushing for the cups. I don't think he'll do great in the Champions League, depending on who they play against. I could see them getting to like the playoff round before the round of 16. But maybe round of 16 and they get knocked out by a strong team. But this is where I have them. I think they'll be way more focused on the Premier League, building a system, building consistency to the team. And I think that's the most important thing that Thomas Frank provides them, because he's a really good manager. Really do think he's a good manager. 5th place. Hot take. I guess, maybe. Some people have them this high. I have Manchester United. I think a full season of Almiron, you'll see a lot of different things. I think didn't want to come in last season for a reason. The squad was in shambles. No Europe this year. They fixed the attack, which was probably the biggest hole in their team. Brought in Embuemo and Cunha, who had 35 goals combined last year. Brought in Benjamin Šeško, who's a player that I think is good. I think he'll do well for them. He's athletic. I also think they're going to bring in Baliba. So I think this team is not only going to be scoring more goals, I think they're bringing in Baliba to bring balance to the midfield, which is the hole that I would be looking at right now. The main part of the team that I would be looking at, not a goalie. Because as bad as I think Onana is, I think getting ran through in the midfield is way more of a problem. Because if you hold the ball, if you keep possession, if you're hard to break through, then you don't really have to worry about the goalie too much. As long as Onana can save a shot from 30 yards out, and you're not letting up a whole lot of chances one-on-one with the defense or the goalie, I think you'll be fine. I think they'll be all right. No Europe is the biggest thing for me, though. They don't have to worry about playing games midweek. Maybe they'll pick up a cup here or there. Maybe they'll go far in one of them. But I think now having one of the better front lines in the Premier League will benefit them a lot. They'll score a lot more goals. They'll win a lot more games. And I think they're just Manchester United at the end of the day. I know people like to make fun of them, this, that, and the third, but they're still Manchester United, and they still just come back out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, they could finish 15th and finish 5th the next year. It's something that they can just do for no reason, because players are still great players like Mbuemo and Cunha still want to come to this team. This team is still has quality players like Bruno Fernandes, Amad Diallo, Lenny Euro, who I think will develop, Aiden Heaven, who I think will develop. And yeah, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good next year. I think they'll be fine. I think a lot of people shit on them a little too much, and I'm confident that they will get into these European places. Now, getting into the top four is basically the top four that everyone has nailed on. There's such a big gap between them in fifth place. And you can really order them in any way, and you won't get a lot of hate for them unless you're like putting Arsenal to win the league, which I don't think will happen. But fourth place, because of how young they are, because of how defensively questionable they could be, I have Chelsea. I think losing Caldwell is big because he's one of their better defenders. Fofana can't stay fit to save his life. Reece James also has a 10-year contract with the Nurse. And I think that's going to be a huge hole for them. They still have Robert Sanchez in net. They have Cucurella, who's very good. Reece James is also very good, but he just can't stay fit. Gusto also struggled with injury last year. Brought in Hato, very good player, young talent, but some of the players that they brought in are just a little too young. They brought in Gittins off the left. It looks like they're going to bring in Javi Simons. It looks like they're going to bring in Garnacho, who will bolster the front line. In the front, I think they'll score goals. I think they'll be good. They have a good midfield. They still have Palmer. They still have Caicedo. They still have Enzo Fernandez. Even bringing in an Andre Santos, who I think will show a little bit more this year. He had a good year at Strasbourg, but you see him in the Prem now. I think there's still questions about if these young wingers will develop quick enough to keep them pushing for the title throughout the whole year. I think they'll be in the title race up until around February, March, and then drop off a little bit. I think last season you saw Cole Palmer go through that dry spell, and this team was not getting a lot of results. I think he's going to be I think the strikers are going to be big this year. Ken João Pedro, keep performing like he did in the Club World Cup. I think he's a good player. Can Delap score goals like he did for Ipswich last year? That's just a couple question marks, but they still are one of the best teams in the Prem, and I could easily see them being like a 22-23 Arsenal, where they just make a push for the title. They go ahead of schedule a little bit, but I also don't think they've brought in the high level world class quality players that are now world class, not maybe in the future, that could push them into the title race this year. So fourth is where I got Chelsea. They could easily finish higher. But third place, I have Arsenal. I have my team. I don't think we've done enough to push ahead to win the league. I still think the left wing is a huge hole in this team. I don't trust Martinelli. I don't hate Trossard, but I just don't trust him. I don't trust Madueke off the left, even though he's all right. He looked good in preseason, but I don't think he's that good. I think we wasted a little bit of money on him. Zubimendi looks very good and looks like he's going to fit like a glove to replace Thomas Partey and provide a different profile in the midfield. Provide a little control, creativity. Gyökeres is going to score goals this year. I think he's going to bag a lot of goals. I think he'll be very good for us. And he'll win us more games than we did last year because we drew a shitload last year. And the defense got stronger. Mosquera has looked very good in preseason. I think he's a good player. Brought in depth in Norgard and Kepa, but I don't think this is enough to be better than Liverpool and Man City, who are obviously above us. And maybe we finish even below Chelsea because I think that left wing is such a problem. It makes our team so lopsided because Odegaard loves to float out to the right. Saka obviously plays on the right wing. Our best fullback in Timber and debatably Ben White love overlapping on that right side. It's just going to be so bunched up on the right. I think if we want to push for a title, you're going to need a lot more from Martinelli, Trossard. You're going to need Odegaard to come back to the form that he had 2 seasons ago. And this team is going to have to stop getting red cards and stupid fouls and injuries and things like this that prevented us from being better last year. It's not an excuse. It's reality. Would have been a little better. Wouldn't have won the league, but we still need quality. We still need attacking quality because we haven't brought that in. We brought in Madueke. That's about it. Second place, I have Manchester City. Great summer additions. Cherki, Reinders, Ainori, Trafford, good keeper. Could get Donnarumma still. And I still kind of group the winter signings like Marmoush, Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov in with that because they're going to get a full season under their belt. They're going to be able to be there and impact the entire time. If Haaland's not performing, Marmoush will come in. I think he's going to play off the left a little bit more. there are concerns like Rodri being hurt for the first 4-ish games of the season, for the first month of the season, really. But is Savinho leaving? I don't know. Will they bring in someone like Rodrigo to replace him? We don't know. But at the end of the day, this is still Manchester City. They won the treble 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago. Did a four-peat. People think it's because they had a down year, they didn't win the Prem. They finished third still, even after not winning a game out of like 11 games straight. And they still have Pep Guardiola as their manager, and he wins league titles in his second year. He doesn't go more than 2 years without winning a league title. And I know I'm predicting that he won't win the league. They still have Pep. They still have Haaland. I think Foden, you'll see a better version of Foden this year. I think you'll see the quality of someone like Reinders. Problems I have really defensively. Ruben Diaz is a very good defender. John Stones is a good defender, but can he stay fit? Is the right back going to be a problem? They only really have Rico Lewis, and Akanji can play out there. But they're still one of the best teams in the world for a reason. They struggled last year, but I think you'll see a better version in the season. And I think that's just what it is. You have Pep Guardiola, you have Haaland. Like these are game winners in themselves. They're game winners. And winning the Premier League, going back to back, I have Liverpool Football Club. I think they're gonna get Isak. I think they're gonna get Guehi, which just puts them far and ahead of any other team. I think Mo Salah will drop off a little bit in terms of GA, but I think he has some of the weight lifted off his shoulders with Ekitike, with Isak likely coming in. The squad does seem a little thin. Oh, Verts too. I forgot about him. The squad did seem a little thin, but they did sign the young defender for depth. Probably gonna get Guehi too. Brought in quality. Brought in a lot of different players, and I see people saying it might upset the flow. It might upset the dressing room. It might take some time for these players to gel together. I don't know. I don't really get that. I do get it, but I don't really see that. I can see this team just being the best team in the league again, just outscoring people by a ridiculous amount. I still think they're the best team, and I think they're one of the best teams in Europe, and a lot of people are picking them to win the Champions League, and I wouldn't be surprised. Unless they don't get Isak, unless they don't get Guehi, and they don't bring in anybody else, I think this team's going to be fine. I think they're going to be very good. I think they're going to win the Premier League. So those are my table predictions. 1 to 20. Top scorer, I have Erling Haaland. To give a top 3, I have Haaland, Isak, Gyökeres. Top assister, I'm going for my boy, Bukayo Saka, because I think Gyökeres will bang a lot of goals, and I think a lot of that will come from Saka's side. I have Salah in second, and I have Bruno Fernandes in third. Could be a little iffy because I think he might not get played up front as much in one of those 10 positions where I think he would be better. Might just get played in midfield, which could be a problem for United, but I still think he just loves to get GA. He just does it every season. Clean sheets, Golden Glove, 3 times in a row I have David Raya, followed by Pickford, followed by Sells, because I think they'll be some of the better defenses in the league. I think Liverpool's defense will be good, but I don't think Alisson will play enough games to get a Golden Glove. Maybe if Donnarumma comes into City, you could see him go up there. And my player of the season prediction is Cole Palmer. I think Chelsea will be very good this year. I think if they finish anywhere higher than where I predicted them, I think he's going to be because Cole Palmer bags an insane amount of GA. He's one of the best players in this league, one of the best players in the world for a reason. This guy's a baller. This guy is clutch. He can do everything. Can score pens, score free kicks, take corners, score goals, provide assists. He's one of the best attacking players in the league, and he can play in a number of positions. If you want to play Xavi Simons in the 10, you push Palmer up on the right a little bit further. Play him as striker. Who gives a fuck? He's very good. He's very, very good. People know that. Young player of the year is just a shot in the dark. Really? I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'll give it to the left back. Lewis Skelly. Fuck it. I think he'll be the young player of the year if we do go. If we win the league. He's going to be our starting left back for most of the year. I know Calafiori's played a lot, but I think Skelly is just a lot better than him. Unless Calafiori steps it up. He is more of an attacking threat, but I think Lewis Skelly will get it done. I'm trying to think of other young players now. Maybe Estevao. That's another good shout. Yeah, maybe him. But it's really a toss-up. Estevao probably has a better chance because he's an attacking player. Manager of the year, probably Arne Slot. Whoever wins the league, really. I think it's going to be Arne Slot. Wins the league again. wins Manager of the Year, unless one of the lower teams does something crazy. Maybe a team breaks into the top 4. I think Arne Slot will win it. So yeah, those are my Premier League predictions. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know what you don't like about them. And we'll see. I'll come back to them at the end of the year, and we'll see how I did. Adios.